Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's On at Disney Plus. It's time for our weekly live Q&A. So we're here live on YouTube, so our YouTube channel members can join in the chat. I can see we've got Knox, Wave, Bubba, Trolling, Kelly, and Ryan. Thank you very much for joining us there this week. So we have questions that have been sent in advance by our patrons and our YouTube channel members. So we'll be jumping in and out of the live chat and also in with the previously written question. Don says you can hear me, which is always a good thing. So thank you very much. You can also use the super chat function as well to send in questions as well, or you can become a member. So big hello to everyone. So we've got Sosuna's joined in as well. So hello to all of you. So as per usual, we've got lots of questions. So we'll try and jump into as many of these as we can. And we'll just keep going basically till we either run out of questions or my voice goes out, probably about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how we go along. Last week, I think I went a little bit long because I didn't look at the time and just kept yapping. So yeah, so if you've got any questions, feel free to do so. So yeah, lots of questions this week. So let's start off with the big one. So Mammoth says, could primetime viewing at 9 p.m. Eastern at 6 p.m. PST be the future for Disney Plus premieres? Bubba Trolling came in with a very similar question of, do you think this release time will be more common in the future? So what does this all mean? So actually, I think I definitely feel like with this whole situation that what's actually happening is essentially now Ahsoka from this week, they are going to be releasing it at 6 p.m. East Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Tuesday. So they're releasing it a little bit early. It's only about 6 hours earlier than it should do, but it will make a big difference for a number of major reasons. So first off, it's now going to be releasing right on primetime television spot for the East Coast and the West Coast. They're going to be able to watch Ahsoka pretty much when it drops or within an hour or two. And no doubt this is going to drastically increase that day one viewing. It's going to get people be talking about it. People are going to be online talking about it much more. And so, yeah, there's going to be a lot more discussion about this. Now, I do think this seems, there's one way of looking at it like this is a way of trying to boost the subscriber numbers up and trying to get more people talking about the series and more people watching it. It definitely is that. There's no point about it. But you do kind of look at it and go, why on earth was this announced literally like a few days before it happened? Because that's a problem really, in the sense of they were putting out like press releases and putting out when this show's coming out. And suddenly the release date suddenly changes, because essentially in America, the date now is the day earlier. It's no longer the 23rd, it's now the 22nd. And it's really annoying for me because obviously I quite like the 8 o'clock mornings drops, because 8 o'clock in the morning here in the UK, nice time. I'll get up, do bits and pieces. Now that doesn't mean that time slot is going to be changing for everything. I think that's still going to stay the standard, but we're probably going to be seeing more of these with what I would call the tentpole major shows. I think that's what we're going to start seeing, where you're going to see these things being done maybe for like the Marvel and the Star Wars, the stuff that they really want to get people watching, on one condition, and that is that the launch of Ahsoka does well. Because if it doesn't, and more importantly, not so much the viewing numbers, but if Disney Plus can stand up to the pressure of launching a show at prime time in the US, have they got enough servers in play now? Are they in a position? Because a lot of people have been, a lot of people have been saying this over a number of years of like, why don't Disney release them in the evening for the US? Well, the reason was that it helped slow down the viewership overnight. It meant in the US, it was the middle of the night, so people were watching slower. They weren't watching all at once. In Europe as well, the time zone was very early in the morning. So again, not as many people watching it. They basically picked the time when the least amount of people could be online. Now in Australia and New Zealand, you were getting it at prime time, so you were having a great time. Asia was kind of all right time as well. But primarily it was down to trying to keep the servers happy. I don't know if you remember way back with WandaVision, there was some problems when people were logging in trying to watch it. Now that was like 3-4 years ago. I'm really hoping by now the servers are in a much better condition to be able to handle it. Now, obviously, for us international folks, it is, we've got used to the time zone. And like I say, there's that kind of thing of like 8 o'clock in the morning is not a great time for the UK, to be completely honest with you. People getting up and going to work, people going off to school and stuff. It is not easy. and that there's definitely, it wasn't ideal. This new time slot for me personally is not so good because it's now 2 o'clock in the morning, so I'll be watching it first thing in the morning. I'm gonna essentially just try and have to basically avoid social media first thing in the morning. Now I'm in a privileged situation. I'm pretty much now just going to be getting up probably 7 o'clock ish, and I'll watch it. In some ways, I can actually watch it a little bit earlier, but I'm going to need to watch it as fast as I can so I can avoid the spoilers. But also, like I'm all right this week because I've seen the 2 episodes, but I suspect most of the other originals will be dropping whenever they do the normal update because they're not going to want to put all of it, and it's going to come down to a test. If this thing works, we could see it. I definitely think we could see it for Marvel and Star Wars shows. I don't think we're going to see it for everything. I don't think that's going to be the goal of putting it all out, but I could see this happening for their big premium shows that they want to do it in. Let's see what we've got on our live things. Knoxway said it would have been better if they released new episodes on Ahsoka on Friday instead of Tuesday. Yeah, I mean, obviously Loki's moving to Friday. When that one launches on the 6th of October, that's going to be on a Friday. So the question is it Friday midnight US time and we get it on Saturday morning here in the UK? Could that be a way? Because I do think they need to work on, the trouble is with the way that they've done it as well is suddenly now the release date is a little bit iffy because when I say now Ahsoka is coming out on Tuesday, well, it's Tuesday in the US and Canada and Latin America. Well, I think I'm going to be probably saying Tuesdays in Americas and the rest of the world is Wednesdays, but it gets a little bit more confusing with advertising and stuff. So in some ways, they may be just better off just staying with the one date and then it just arrives a little bit earlier. I mean, there was always a lot of people used to talk about like Game of Thrones with HBO. And the reason why that worked with Game of Thrones and stuff on HBO was that it was a US only platform. So therefore, there was always a difference if it didn't impact the rest of the world. But it's going to be very, very interesting. I just realized I've not got the poll system up. Right, let's see what we've got here. Matt C says, I always thought it'd be cool if Disney Plus did live stream premieres, which when they're shown are capable of doing like Dancing with the Stars, could encourage more co-viewing. Yeah, that's definitely something I think we could do. Let's see what else we've got here. I'm trying to just keep on this topic at the minute. Hello to you, Jacob. Thank you very much for becoming a member. Thank you so much. Here we go. Kayla says, do you think it's a coincidence that they did a joint promotion of Only Murders on the Building on Hulu and Ahsoka on Disney Plus in the US? Disney could start releasing select titles during their prime time. I think you are gonna start seeing a drastic shift in the US in terms of their marketing. I think you're going to start seeing more combi and the bundle. I think you're going to start seeing the bundles being advertised more and more and more because what that would do is they want you to start associating Disney Plus and Hulu together. And they'll start, and I think this is going to be a long campaign that'll be going out for months of just trying to get everybody in the US kind of happy with things. I think we're going to see Hulu stuff moving over to Disney Plus and kind of maybe some of the big shows to kind of get people ready. I think we'll see it the other way around where some of the Disney Plus shows might appear more on Hulu. We're going to start seeing some cross-pollination and a lot of bundle adverts, I think, and it'll be like you can get both for $9.99, that kind of thing. I think we're definitely going to see a lot more of that one. Matt says, do you think Disney will also down with theatrical releases? Do you think Disney are also down? So do you mean like down in money? Because obviously some movies are down. They're still pretty much up overall. But some films have obviously drastically underperformed this year. Little Mermaid kind of at a point now. I think it's probably gone in. They will make a profit on Little Mermaid. Indiana Jones is going to be probably borderline. By the time they do all the other stuff, they probably will mess just about. They're not making a huge amount on it. Elemental's done all right. That did all right. I think Haunted Mansions, I don't know what's going to happen with that one. And I don't think the Marvels is going to be I don't know. I think I'm thinking with the Marvels, we might be looking at maybe more along the lines of what we saw with Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Muppet Dunn says it should have been done with all trailers and yeah, it definitely feels like with Ahsoka, they should have been like, again, it feels a very last minute ditch. And again, you can easily look at this and kind of say, is it being done just to try and boost up the numbers on it? Matt says, will we see sports on Disney Plus? I think we could see some. There might be some special games that are like they want to cross promote, or they've got special deals in place to do some stuff. I think more so in the US. I don't think internationally we're going to get that because a lot of the stuff has been licensed out, and I don't think they're necessary. I think internationally they seem to be shifting away from the sports idea. Muppet Don says, with Miss Marvel going to ABC a few weeks ago, will this become a common practice to air the Marvel and Star Wars shows on linear 6 months, 12 months after the Disney Plus release? I think we probably will see this happening a little bit more, and it makes sense. I mean, why not put WandaVision out on ABC this winter? I mean, or Mandalorian season 1. I do think with the Marvels, a lot of that as well was trying to get audiences revved up for the Marvels film. They probably would have been better off leaving it to maybe like October time, but if they're a bit short on stuff right now. Matt says, I think Hulu will get added to Disney Plus in December. Yeah, I think that's probably when it's going to happen as well. The fact that it's I think they are just waiting until they sort out the Comcast thing, and then because it will be done, I think, before the end of the year. Because in the last quarterly results, they said they'll know it'll be completed in the next 3 months. So, Mapadon says, as Prey and WandaVision have had physical releases, right? Quick note there: WandaVision hasn't. WandaVision's only had a box. It hasn't actually had there was a whole load of whipped up internet crazy over a WandaVision like Blu-ray box set that didn't have any Blu-rays in it, and it was just like a limited edition item from Hong Kong, so it wasn't like a mass release. So yeah, anyway, so as Prey and WandaVision have had physical releases, do you see this happening with more Disney Plus and Hulu originals? If Disney think they can make money from it, they are going to do it, and I think they're very much back into the idea of let's make some money from these films and releasing them on physical. I don't see why after a year or 2 years there's any harm in putting it out on physical or digital to buy. I just don't see a downside to that, because like with Prey, anyone that wants to buy Prey would have already seen the film on Hulu, and they're not going to keep subscribed because it's on there. But if they can pull in some millions of dollars to help towards it, I think that's what they need to do. I think we might get less of them. I would be, but I don't think it's going to be a huge print run. But I think it's a good thing. Matt says putting shows on primetime may help you ship. I think it's ever going to help. So Suna says, will we see Love, Simon, Modern Family, and Malcolm in the Middle? Yeah, when you get all that Hulu stuff comes into Disney Plus, all of that stuff I suspect will be in there because it's all owned by Disney. But unfortunately, we're just going to have to wait until that Hulu add-on is put in. I can't see them adding them in beforehand. I just can't see them doing that one. Kyle says, are you surprised they completed Percy Jackson for the release of this year? Not really, because there'd been kind of an on and off idea of the fact that it might have come out this year at a certain point. Because even last year at the D23 Expo, they kind of hinted that it might come this year. And let's be honest, they only just snuck into 2023 with 10 days to 11 days to spare. This is very much a Book of Boba Fett kind of, we're technically releasing it this year, but we're only really making it within the case of less than 2 weeks. So it is, I mean, we're going to get, 3 episodes drop in 2023, and probably more of the episodes will be dropping in 2024. So I think it's good. I think it's exactly what Disney Plus needs right now, where they are setting up multiple shows for people to be watching. So you've got Ahsoka, then you've got Loki, then you're going to have Dancing with the Stars, and then you're going to have the Santa Clauses. They'll probably start advertising that in September. It's a little bit too early right now. But yeah, so I expect we'll be seeing things like that one. Matt says, my one concern with Disney having put primetime premiere strategy is whether or not they cannibalize their own linear primetime shows that air on ABC. Well, yeah, there is that. But the trouble is this year they haven't got any. They're all like they're all like game shows and stuff. So there's not really anything. And I think the days of them cannibalizing themselves with all the other networks, only 30% of people are now watching cable television, so that's a much lower than it used to be. How many? I don't know. I think it's just a case of they just got to get the numbers. They've got to get those eyeballs regardless. Right, I'm going to jump in now into some pre-done questions. Mamo says, when do you think Disney will market the One App experience to increase awareness of the launch? I think once they maybe have got to a complete deal with Comcast, I think this will probably start kicking up maybe a month to 6 weeks before it happens, and then they're going to go heavy on marketing. Lots of adverts, lots of trailers, lots of clips, lots of ways of emails going out to people. They are going to need to go on the offensive. They are going to need to really hammer home the fact that this is happening. They need to make every Disney Plus subscriber aware that this is going to be happening. They need to make sure that every Hulu subscriber is aware. They're going to need to make sure that everybody, this is going to need a massive campaign for millions of dollars to get this word out there. They can't do it cheap. They have to go in. Obviously, without the strike and stuff, the actors and stuff is a little bit more limited, and maybe like doing specific commercials with actors coming on saying you can get it. But they are going to need to advertise this. I think we're going to see in the next couple of months more of the bundle adverts is going to become more standardized. I'm really just trying to push home some stuff. I think you're going to see some cross promotion with different shows of, Hulu show going on to Disney Plus for a little bit. Just to try and get people more and more used to the idea that they're going to be happening. So when Star launched here in the UK, there was a big campaign about it all. And I think we're going to see, in some way, US is in a better situation than the rest of the world was with Star, was because Hulu's established. So that's a good thing. Babak says, who do you think would be a good partner for Disney regarding ESPN? I think Apple would be good. I think that would get it out on that devices. Not sure about Verizon. I think that's a very, again, it might be more US centric with phones and stuff for their network. But yeah, I kind of, I don't know, Amazon maybe? I don't know. To me, it definitely seems like the tech is where they want it. But whoever's got the biggest paycheck. Because to be honest, I'm not I like a bit of sports, I like watching, I like watching wrestling. I watch a little bit of NFL and stuff. But yeah, I personally not a huge fan of sports. Momo, could you see the One App experience launch on November the 12th, which will be the 4th anniversary of the launch of Disney Plus in the US? No, I think we need to let go of that November 12th as a thing. Disney are notoriously bad at anniversaries. They don't really do a lot of stuff for anniversaries. They do a lot of, everyone gets so excited about anniversaries, and all it usually is maybe they release a pin and put a couple of banners out on social media. If you're at the parks, you might get a little bit of merchandise. They generally don't go all in. And that November the 12th thing only really applies to 4 countries. So it doesn't really mean anything to most of. And I think if you're going to launch it, you want it to be its own separate thing. And I just think November the 12th is kind of meaningless, really. It doesn't. They'd already skipped it last year. They didn't do anything, so they've already kind of dumped it in some ways. Tim says, why did Disney change the release date for Percy Jackson and the Olympians as it was scheduled for 2024? Could you see more changes like this in the future? I think it was more the fact that it was ready, or it's nearly ready. They probably, and therefore, if it drops then, that will probably then see us right through end of December, most of January. So that's kind of set people up now for, there is a big show coming. I think we're going to have Ahsoka, Loki, then Loki into Santa Clauses, and then Santa Clauses into Percy Jackson. And that is going to be the big prime time show each week for the next 4 months. Matt says, do you know when Monsters at Work is coming out? No, we don't know. We haven't heard anything about that project in a long time. Haven't heard anything about that one. And it says, will Disney Plus have a Hallowstream this year? I remember it kicked off at Halloween. Yeah, I suspect they will do something. I know they do a lot of it on Freeform. They'll do bits and pieces. They'll probably have some stuff lined up. It's a cheap, easy promotion that they can do. Yeah, I think they'll do it. It's easy do. Tim says, what are your thoughts on Disney bringing back Mickey Mouse Clubhouse in 2025? And are Disney running out of original shows to put on Disney Plus? As far as Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, this makes total sense. This show is one of the most watched shows on Disney Plus. It is constantly in the top 3 or top 5 shows of all time. Every single time you look on the trending chart, it's high. People are watching this show, or kids are watching this show a lot. Why? They tried with Mickey Mouse Funhouse. It hasn't really clicked the same way. They tried it with Mickey Mouse Roadster Racers. Didn't click in the same way. So why not go back and do Clubhouse 2.0? give it another go. I think it's a good idea. Keep it nice and simple, nice, easygoing preschool content for kids to enjoy. It's a win-win-win. I don't see any downsides to them doing this one. And he's saying about Disney running out of original shows. No, I don't think they're going to run out of original shows at all, because I think you're going to see them reducing them, and when hope in therefore they get better. The quality should get better, the writing should get better, the editing, the visual effects. It's just we have to maybe change our mindset to the idea that we are not going to get the same amount of shows that we used to get years ago. And this is not just on Disney Plus. We're talking Netflix, Amazon, HBO, Paramount, Peacock, etc. They are all going to be, they're all cutting back on how much they're making, because we're no longer in the pandemic. And therefore, we're not all sat at home watching television every day like we were then, and they can't afford to keep making the shows. Right, let's jump now back into the live ones. Let's see what we've got. Knoxway says, do you think they'll announce release date for X-Men 97 while it's going to release this fall? I don't know. I don't know when they're going to release it. It kind of feels a little bit like, I know there's a lot of merchandise and stuff that's been coming out. I don't know. It's like, well, how are they going to release it? I mean, do they want it overlapping with Loki? I personally, I would hold on to it till maybe after maybe December, and then start rolling it after the Marvels has dropped myself. Just push it back a little bit. And as Matt says, I could see it coming out late December or early January. Yeah, I think that makes the most sense myself. I think I would agree with that one. Ricardo says, many people speculate that the MCU could get rebooted after Secret Wars. If they actually do it, I have an idea that they could actually do animated movies in the style of Spider-Verse. I don't think they're going to go down the animated route. I don't think that's really something that they're going to go down. I think they don't make a huge amount of the Spider-Verse movies have done really well, but if you look at them against other movies, they haven't really done as good. This whole idea of like, it's been floating. The problem is right now, especially on the internet, and I've been really noticing it the last week or so, is because there's less news coming out and we're getting less news, what's happening is there's a lot of people, especially on like Twitter and on YouTube, that are using every little thing that there is, sometimes making stuff up just to get their engagement up, especially on Twitter now, or X, because of the way that the new like payment system is. People are trying to keep their engagement up high, and there's a lot of rubbish going around. There's a lot of old casting notes that are going out that are like 6 months or a year out of date. There's a lot of rubbish being spat around. Now, as far as like there being a soft reboot for Secret Wars, I kind of thought that this was what we were doing anyway, was because of the multiverse. Was the multiverse saga is then going to end up with everything coming together, and they can like you say, they can do a soft reboot. And I don't think that's going to be a bad idea for them to do. I think we do need like Captain America and Iron Man back, change some of the actors up a little bit, get a new generation of X-Men in. I don't really think much of the multiverse. I never liked the idea of them doing it. I always thought it was going to complicate people. I thought it was going to distract people. It was going to cause problems, and it is proving already that the people don't like the multiverse because there is no consequences. I don't, and it's like saying about a soft reboot. A lot of this stuff, it's not going to be like a full. They might reset some of the characters. They might reset some of the stuff, because Secret Wars always was like that. They would go off and then they would come back. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if some of the I think also with the MCU, we're at a point now where I think Marvel needs to get into the idea that they can change actors rather than just keep killing people off. And I think doing a soft reboot would drastically cause problems for them. Whether or not they do a soft reboot and it takes you back to like Endgame, that might work, but I don't know. I think it's very, very tricky. Mabadon says, I've seen lots of news videos about Disney changing the name of X-Men in the MCU, but in reality, they just changed the section from X-Men to Mutant Legacy. There's a lot of clickbait out there right now. They literally just changed the name from, they put Mutant Legacy in a section on a bar on Disney Plus, and you're like, it wasn't a collection. They literally just changed the name of a tab. It was like, I don't know. It's like sometimes you just like you're seeing stuff and you're like, that's not what it is. That's just, again, but it gets people's attention, and it is very, very It's funny. Don says, I feel like doing annual anniversary stuff can become oversaturating, but if they just do for the big ones, 10, 20, 50, generally like the theme parks, they will tend to do big ones. So like this last year was the 50th anniversary at Disney World. Disneyland had ones before that when I think they had 65th was the last one. We obviously got the Disney 100. So it makes sense to do the big ones. But the thing of like when they do like it's the 35th anniversary of, I don't know, the Beauty and the Beast movie coming out, it doesn't mean anything. It's and ultimately they can't really advertise a lot of this stuff and make a lot of money on it. Jacob says, will the Wiggles TV series be on Disney Plus? Is the Wiggles actually even owned by I don't know. I don't know if that is actually, because it's an Australian show, isn't it? So let's just have a look. Yeah, I don't think that's got probably no chance, I would imagine, because it doesn't look like, I think if I remember rightly, the Wiggles movie was distributed by 20th Century Fox, but the series, it's actually run by ABC, that's Australian Broadcast Network, not the actual ABC in the US. So no, I don't think it's going to be going anywhere near Disney Plus for that one. Cara says, will Disney embrace some more mature content on Disney Plus? Do you think the Lizzie McGuire reboot could be revived? It's got a much better chance, I think, now. I think there's Disney Plus in 2024 is going to be very different to Disney Plus in 2020. I do think the trouble is I feel like with the Lizzie McGuire reboot, I don't think they'd got all their ducks in a row. They were filming, like, it feels like they hadn't actually come to an agreement on where the show was. Like, did Disney want everything on Disney Plus just to be for like 7-year-olds, or was it? And I think that was the problem with Lizzie McGuire. I think it would be nice to see it reboot, but at the same time, I just don't know if Disney will want to take the risk on it now, because they're going to alienate more viewers because people want her to basically be like a 30-year-old woman living in New York. That is not Lizzie McGuire of that TV series. You might as well just watch How I Met Your Father. And in there, she's actually, I was watching it the other day, they even had a little clip of her from there. So I think that's definitely a way of going forward. Kelly says, I really hope the Marvels does become profitable, since the expectations changed that if the film doesn't make $1 billion worldwide, it's considered a failure. I don't like that mindset. Yeah, I think this whole idea that if it doesn't hit $1 billion, it's a failure is very much along the lines of expectations are just too high, and we're just not hitting that $1 billion mark. I mean, I think this year we're only going to have 2 movies. I think it's going to be Barbie and Mario, and both of them are established they're established franchises, but they're also new and fresh. I don't think the Marvels is going to hit it. I think if it can hit between 600 and 800 million, I think if it's good, it will be able to chance to boost. I'm really looking forward to it, because I actually I did like Captain Marvel, but it's Miss Marvel that I really want to see, because she was so good in the series that I think her energy and her enthusiasm is going to like play like a nice foil to like Captain Marvel's being serious. I think that's going to work really. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to be going and seeing that on opening day. I'm really looking forward to it. But I like them. I mean, Monica, I didn't really like get too much from WandaVision with her. Like, she's very serious and straight. So that might work with it. But yeah, for me, it was like it's Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel. I think that's gonna be a good combination. Star says, if I was Disney Plus, this would be my post-strike price plan, the usual subscription with ads, and then individual shows for rent ads, because writers in demand. People won't pay it. I know everyone. People are moaning at the price of Disney Plus and other streaming services now. They are not going to pay. I don't think they're going to do individual shows. I just don't think people would do it. And also, we're in a cost of living crisis. There's money coming down. People haven't got enough money. People are cutting what they're doing. And I think the idea of trying to get people to pay, I just don't think that could work at all. I can't see that one working. Did I watch the World Cup final? I saw like 5-10 minutes of it, and then I went out and walked the dog. I'm not a big soccer fan, to be honest. To be honest, even if it was the men's World Cup, I wouldn't have watched it either. I just don't really care about soccer. I know that's not right for English, but yeah, I'm not really a big fan. I watched some football last night, American football. But Kyle says, it's a new Ahsoka release date for the US only or worldwide? Yes, it's going to be the same time, But ultimately, like here in in the Europe, Asia, and Australia, when it's 6 o'clock Pacific time on Tuesday, it's already Wednesday here. So the release date is actually the same for us because it's still Wednesday the 23rd. It's just going to be much earlier in the day. So like here in the UK, I think it's 2 o'clock. I think it's 11 o'clock Eastern. 8 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning Australian. So technically, it's still going to be the Wednesday for us. It's just going to be like a few hours earlier. Carl says, any updates on Spiderwick Chronicles and Goosebumps? So at San Diego Comic-Con, they had some boards up and they did have some pictures up. I think Goosebumps could be an October thing. That might be for this year. I don't think Spiderwick Chronicles is coming anytime soon. Let's see where we are. Ricardo says, this week, season 5 of Peak Practice received dubbing in some languages. Disney didn't add it since last year. I think there could be a sign of better organization with previous stuff. I mean, it would make more sense to use dubbing on stuff they've already got. I mean, I wouldn't say they probably didn't have to go out and get new stuff, but maybe they are getting their act together. It's a bit messy with it. Star says, airing sport events could be really expensive on traditional TV or streaming. If Disney Plus were to do this, should it be a pay-per-view? Otherwise, it's a bump in subscribe. So I think the answer to that is going to be ESPN. If they do this, it will be an ESPN add-on, and you pay more for access to that. I know I was looking at NFL Game Pass, and it's like NFL Game Pass was like $37 or £37 a month. Or I think it's Sky Sports was like £27 a month. And I already pay like £10 a month for WWE. And I'm like, wow. I mean, that's some big prices. Ricardo says, this is the best time to release the What If Season 2 and Spider-Man freshman year, considering these shows are not MCU canon. Well, they're still making Spider-Man freshman year. It's only got a company in Japan are currently making it, and it's planned to be out next year. So it's not actually ready yet. And I think with What If Season 2, I think with the multiverse with Loki, I think we don't necessarily need it if we're getting X-Men. I think 1 or 2 series a year is enough. And I think if we got X-Men, What If can hold back a little bit more. Matt says, with Percy Jackson now confirmed for December, I have the feeling Skeleton Crew won't release till 2024, especially with December, as we will likely have Santa Claus's season 2 as well. I have had a feeling that Skeleton Crew was bumped to 2024 a long time ago, because way back at the beginning of the year, they put out this trailer of what's coming up in 2023. And on the YouTube and stuff, it didn't have Skeleton Crew. And there was one little video on social media that got quickly deleted that had it in there. And I think at that point it'd been pushed back. I'll be honest, I think they should hold off Skeleton Crew till next year. I think with Ahsoka, what is the point of getting that out? Even though we've had Mandalorian and we're going to have Ahsoka, that is enough for this year. I think that's enough. Then next year we could have Acolyte and Skeleton Crew and Bad Batch season 3. Then we go into the next year, we can have Andor season 3, because I think that's going to get bumped because they've not fully finished filming. And I think the writer's strike will give them a way of stretching that out into 2025. But yeah, I think that will be next year. So Susan says, what year will Percy Jackson end if they start at the end of the year and it'll be 5-year seasons? Well, if they can, I think they were writing season 2 just before the writer's strike. So obviously that's probably stopped. Whether or not any work on that probably officially isn't going on, but I don't know. But yeah, I mean, they're going to want to crack on with this stuff. They're going to want to crack on with filming it. I think once they get the actors' strike sorted and the writer's strike, it's more likely to just get going, because those kids are going to be growing up fast and they need to get them in and film these shows now while they can. So, but yeah, if they go, but it's all going to depend. If the viewing numbers are not good for season 1, we might get season 2, but these are expensive shows. Muppet Don says, I guess they have to be careful about what they give physical releases, as if they give I Am Groot a DVD and Blu-ray release, no one will buy it. Yes, you got to be, certain things have got to be more careful with how they do it. Okay, let's jump now back into the previous done questions. Tim says, with Wrexham 5-5 draw on the weekend, why did one of the Wrexham's Rob owners, Rob, confirm on X that welcome to the Wrexham season 3 is in the works? Do Disney need the content due to strike? So I need to have a look and see where that is, because I've not heard of that, and I need to check that out and If that is, that'll be an article later today. Just need to find where that is. So if you did see that anywhere, just let me know in the live chat, because I'd like to know that one. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, Wrexham, if it's been a success like it looks like the first season was, Ryan Reynolds is a pull in. They can film it. It's a cheap show to make because of what they're doing. Again, they can film it this year while the strikes are going on, because these are documentaries, so they don't come under the. So they can keep filming Rob and Ryan, and that doesn't come under the strike. Also, Ryan is in the UK because he was waiting to film Deadpool. So, yeah, I mean, it makes total sense to me. Daniel says, I read an article speculating that the 2003 Hulk movie will come to Disney Plus when it leaves Hulu next month. Do you think it's possible? It is possible, because some stuff leaves Hulu and does go to Disney Plus, but it depends whether or not the rights to that film actually are owned by Disney. Because I need to, what year was it? 2003, was it? So this one here was a Universal Productions, but it didn't have anything. It had Marvel Enterprises, so it might revert back to them, but I don't know if it is, because this was way before the MCU, so I don't know. It'd be nice if it did, but I always remember being disappointed with that film. Kelly says, I remember reading an article from ESPN executives that they were interested in WWE rights, particularly the streaming rights. What are your thoughts on this? I think it makes sense for ESPN to be involved in it. They've got to deal with UFC, which obviously is about to go through the merger, so I think that's good. Live content every week, week in, week out, no disruptions, it keeps going. There's not a lot of sports where you get that continuous thing. And I think with not having it on linear, it does open it up for them to be able to they don't need a necessarily dedicated channel. They can put it on one of the ESPN networks if they needed to. Maybe even, I think the better idea would be in the US would be maybe to put it on FX or AB. I don't know if ABC might be a little bit off on that one, but they could put it on FX, because in all fairness, this is a problem that we have here in the UK. I think WWE would be better off having it on a open platform to everyone rather than it being paid. Because I'll be honest, I mean, I have WWE Network, so I only really watch the premium live events, but I just catch up all of Raw and SmackDown and NXT on YouTube, because I can get through just the main clips, and also because I've got YouTube Premium and I don't get any of the ads, so you can just click through all the best bits of the shows in about 20-30 minutes. Elliot says, what does Disney need to do to buy out the rest of Hulu from Comcast? So at the minute, they're in the last ditch thing where an independent company will be valuing the value of it, and then they will come to that will be how much it's worth, and then they will then be able to work out how much Comcast is owed. Because what will have happened is there was a deal when they made it that if Hulu wasn't being funded by Comcast, that they could actually reduce the amount of ownership that they had in it. So it does make it very, very tricky in terms of how they do it. So it's very, very, there's going to be a lot of technical stuff, but I suspect, they'll have done that, and then there'll be a transfer of assets or transfer of cash across to pay for it. Disney have already been putting together the money to do it. I think they're going to sell something off to get to be able to offset the cost somewhere. I think that is whether it's ESPN. They're going to have something up their fingers to be able to do it. Babak says, do you think the Ahsoka time change to earlier slot, we could see a shift of more future? I think we're going to see it for the major titles. I don't think we're going to see it for everything. I don't think it makes sense to do it for everything, because it's just it's not necessary, and it's more complicated with advertising and global releases. Let's be honest. Is the Birdie Gregory documentary, is that really going to make much difference if that goes out at 6:00 at night or at midnight? The viewership's not going to matter too much, but Ahsoka, Loki is a big title. We might see some changes maybe with Only Murders in the Building. I think they're going to see how this goes. Or we did that one. Right, now I'm going to be live for the rest of the show. So I'm just going to go up and see if I've missed any live questions. Here we go. Barbatronic says, do you think Disney would not let you fast forward through the first hour? What's that in reference to? Do you think that Disney will not let you? If you're on the ad tier, you're not going to be able to fast forward it. Muppet says one of the less important things about the Hulu Disney Plus app. Do you think they will release Hulu trailers on the Disney Plus YouTube channel? I don't know. I mean, I think it would make sense eventually that they merge. I don't know on that one. It's like, I think the big question is like, it'll probably keep going for a little bit, but let's just have a look. I want to have a look. So Hulu's got 2.2 million subscribers, whereas Disney Plus has 1.36. So yeah, I mean, I could see them cross promote. I could see them just cross promoting it for a while. To be fair, let's see what we've got. Boom, 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 boom. We did that one. And just trying, okay, here we go. Muppet Don says, imagine you are someone who's watched Deadpool 1 and 2, but none of the MCU films, and then you come to Deadpool 3, and suddenly they're overwhelmed with all this other content that they have to watch. I don't think that's probably a very small amount of people. If you like Deadpool 1 and 2, you are going to be aware of the X-Men films. I think that'll be fine. Kelly says, I want Marvels to succeed. Says, I don't want the actresses to be harassed if the film doesn't meet expectations. Unfortunately, with the way that the internet is, they are going to get, it's horrible. It is absolutely horrible what goes on sometimes. Because as Muppet says, a man is amazing as Miss Marvel. Jacob says, will 2 original theatrical versions of Toy Story and Monsters Inc. be on Disney Plus without? No, that they're not going to put anything controversial in there. That's long gone. Barbara Trolling says, do you think the Warner Bros. Discovery hate on the internet Wi-Fi affect them in the future to the point of splitting the business? Yeah, I think they're going to split the business up and sell off assets anyway. I think that's going to be happening. I do think we're probably going to end up in a situation where I know, like, there's a lot of reports of like Comcast either buying Paramount or Warner Brothers, but I think we are going to get to a point where the government are going to start looking at some of these mergers and going, no, you can't do that. It's too big. Now I would probably say, like, I think Disney's not in a position where it could buy either of them, but I think that there is a problem that is brewing on consolidation. And we've seen it from the WGA this past week. They put out a report saying that Disney, Amazon, and Netflix have too much power because they know that Comcast and Paramount and Discovery are all at a risk. Star says, about the individual shows rental thing, I meant people will only pay for what they want to watch instead of the whole library. I don't think it would work. People don't like a la carte on paying as you go. People want one subscription fee and that's it. I just don't feel like, there's a reason why on like music you can't really buy single tracks anymore because people like having the subscription. I don't think you can put the genie back in the bottle. I don't think that could work. Started in some countries, Disney stopped putting out movies digital for rent, just straight to Disney Plus. Yeah, well, some of this again is then we come down to are they making enough money from putting it on the digital store? How many people are buying it? Because that's the other big problem. Some of these movies, I think the culture of buying digital movies is much smaller than it was for DVD. I did it today. I mean, I was sat there this afternoon and it's like I really wanted to watch the new Transformers film, and I was like, "No, I'm just going to wait. I'm not paying like $20 for it. I will wait." And it was just because we ended up watching Dungeons and Dragons, which got put onto Paramount Plus instead this week. Yeah, it was just like I don't know, and I'm a movie fan, and I like watching movies, and I'm quite happy paying to go cinema and paying for DVDs. But there's something about digital purchases that I just find. I mean, I buy my video games digitally, but movies, I just really struggle with the concept of buying them digitally. It's weird. So Suna says, how will Disney look in 2024? Well, I'm hoping they're going to look a little bit better than they are in 2023, because let's be honest, they are not looking so good. There's a lot of smoke and a lot of fires that they're putting out. I think we're going to see a smaller Disney. I think we're going to see them doing a lot less. I think we're going to see less movies, less shows. They're going to be putting out less stuff. I think they're going to be playing it safe for a few years. I think we're going to see them pulling back a little bit on anything controversial. I think they're just going to want to just sort of ride out the wave, just try and get people off their backs and just go back to being a little bit, just they're going to stop pushing the boundaries a little bit on some of their stuff to become a little bit safer, a little bit more, just to stay out of the, because, you know, this constant culture warring that they're in right now, they can't, you know, they're just bouncing their head. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to stop doing everything. There's going to be shows that are, you know, that they can get away with. But I feel like they are going to just take a step back and be a lot less controversial in some of the stuff that they do. So as soon as there's one thing I can say is Steamboat Willie won't just be on Disney Plus because of due to the public, it'll also stream on the Roku channel and Tubi. I think the thing is with Steamboat Willie is it depends on copyright, depends on, because trademark is still in place, and that's the problem. They keep updating it. So they have to use, and they can't just take the HD version off of Disney Plus and do it. They'll have to take a rip of it somewhere. It's not like they can just, it can be very tricky for them to do something with it, because ultimately they just can't take the rip off YouTube or anything like that and put it up on, because the HD version and the remastered version and anything like that will belong to Disney still, because when they made that, it will then become a new copyright on it. So it's going to be very tricky with how this comes together. Carlos says, what are your thoughts on the Haunted Mansion movie? I really enjoyed it. I just wanted it to be scarier. We've got to remember, it was for kids. It is a kids' family movie. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I totally was hooked. Yeah, I mean, there was so much little nods to the ride. So much, because I love the Haunted Mansion. I mean, just on this side here, you know, I got like a Haunted Mansion hat box there with stuff like that. I've got pop vinyls. I've got loads of Vinylmation and stuff. I've got like a couple of big post frame things. I love the ride. I absolutely loved it. So I thought it was really good. I thought it was such a good film. I really enjoyed it. Chris said, I went to saw it and really enjoyed it. I don't understand why all the bad reviews. I don't think it was bad reviews. I think it was so getting swallowed up with Barbieheimer. Everything was just Barbie Oppenheimer. Everyone was going to go see that. Everyone wanted to see that. No one could get in. Had Disney put out Haunted Mansion now, I think it would have done a little bit better, because it would have been away from Barbieheimer, so it would have had a little bit of I think it got squashed by that. And unfortunately, we're at a point now where the opening weekend, if it doesn't do the biggest movie of all time, it's a failure. It doesn't matter what movie it is. Every movie that comes out, if it has a slightly underperforming box office, it just gets written off. Oh, it's rubbish. Don't bother go seeing it. And Haunted Mansion is a really good film. The same thing happened really with Elemental. And Disney also have got to, in some way, they've got to re-earn people's trust a little bit, because they have been putting out a lot of mediocre stuff. And I think Elemental and Haunted Mansion were some of their better. I think they were much better than Indiana Jones or Little Mermaid. I enjoyed them much more. And they're going to have to keep putting out good quality stuff. And that's how they're going to get people back into the cinema to see stuff. Muppet Don says, Hope might go to Peacock. Yeah, that's very much could do that. Bubbatronic says, do you think when Warner Brothers... oh, no, we did that one. So Cena said, I think the Percy Jackson show will have high ratings if each season will be about each book. It'll be about 2028. Probably. Yeah, probably about that, I'd imagine. Yeah, hopefully people watch it. But if it's used too young, they might end up not... I don't know. Very, very tricky. Thank you very much for watching Knoxwave. Have a good day. Kayla says the same executive did specify that streaming rights, since weekly TV shows can't be committed to ESPN linear. If that's the case, Disney could put on weekly shows on FX. Yeah. Kayla says, speaking of WWE, I remember Disney featured Edge in a Percy Jackson teaser. It's a shame that the strike's ongoing, since Edge couldn't promote it due to wanting to be on good terms. Yeah, and I mean, he had a really busy week, because obviously he did his whole, what looks to be maybe a retirement match in Toronto on SmackDown. It looked like it. I mean, I can't see him going to AEW, but I think he's left on his own terms. Matt says, will we see more hubs added to Disney Plus? Yes, I think we're going to see some more hubs, some more collections. We're going to see an overhaul. Mapadon says there's a lot of upcoming Marvel Disney Plus shows. Could you see some of the shows that haven't been started production yet being written into either 2 or 3 episode shows or special presentations? No. I don't think they're going to rewrite them into 2 or 3 episodes or special presentations, because if they're good enough, they'll be turned into films like Armor Wars was, because that got turned from a series into a film. I think the special presentations, what's the point? Where was the benefit to Guardians of the Galaxy or Werewolf by Night? No big numbers. We had no good numbers about how well they were watched. People wrote them off as just being streaming only Blair filler. I just don't think we're going to get them. And I think a 2 to 3 episode series is not enough to warrant the cost. They might as well just do a movie. We are going to see a lot less. So we've got what? Ironheart, Echo, Loki season 2, Wonder Man, and Agatha, and Daredevil. I think that's probably going to see us through till 2026, probably. And I think they are probably going to take a little bit of a break. And I think they've probably already been, obviously, with the writers and stuff right now. But I think they're going to probably try and finish off Wonder Man, finish off the stuff that they've got to do. There's always going to be something Marvel going on, but I think they're going to be focusing on maybe one project at a time. And that might work better for Kevin Feige and stuff, where they can focus a little bit more. I think we're probably going to go down to maybe 2 shows a year. And in some ways, they've kind of given themselves a little bit of leeway with being so far in advance. Disney will be changing the Disney Plus, meaning no more than 6 episodes, 2 million shows. If this is true, do you think it's good, or could it impact them badly in a way? I think they're just going to spend more wisely. I think they can't just keep spending. And also as well, we've had Marvel TV shows before the MCU. We had Daredevil. We had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We had all of this, and they were TV shows. And they were able, and Cloak and Dagger and Runaways and all they've been able to make them in the past, but they're just a much more, it's like they could make them a lot cheaper. I think some of the stuff with Secret Invasion, a lot of high-end actors, but also a lot of special effects. Essentially these TV shows need to be much more grounded in real life. I think that's why Daredevil and the Defenders work so well, was because they're all very special effects friendly. They can film most of the shows without doing special effects. I think with costumes and stuff, maybe they just need to start using real costumes much more than constantly CGIing them all the time. I don't know. I think we're just going to see a change in how they make stuff. Matt says, what X-Men character do you want to see in the movie besides Wolverine? I'm guessing in terms of, in an X-Men movie, I want there to be Professor X, Gambit, Cyclops, Jean Grey, maybe Rogue, Beast. Those are kind of the main core group I'd like to see in there. You also see Avatars on HBO Max. Yes, that is on there. If I did my own theatrical movie called Jake and would it be on? No. Muppet Don says, September to November releases are odd considering the strikes. On September the 6th, I Am Groot, Little Mermaid, and Ahsoka drops, then Loki, October to November, and on Finals the same day as Marvel. Yeah. And then Echo is all of the 29th. I think we're going to, it makes sense for them to spread this stuff out. Will we see more shows like Small Light? I don't know. It's a shame because I thought the Small Light was a really good show. But I don't know if National Geographic's those kind of shows, are they hitting the right audience? Is that what National Geographic is good at? I mean, they've made some good shows, but they're mainly made by ABC and stuff. And it's they're good little limited series and stuff. Maybe with Hulu, they got a little bit of a better chance, and if they air them on ABC. But on one hand, you kind of think maybe with that Geo, there's a couple of good shows. The Hot Zone, The Right Stuff, the Small Light, but none of them are really hit very good. A Genius as well. I mean, there's some good shows there, but they've not all done very well. Will the full stream version of Bugs Life be on Disney Plus? Probably not. Whatever's on there now is probably what we've got. Will we see more Mickey Mouse shorts in the future? I don't know. Disney will want to keep that trademark going. So they might. I mean, they're doing Mickey Mouse Clubhouse is being redone. So that's going to be the next wave of cartoons from them. So I think that's where they're going next. Haunted Mansion got negativity because Disney released it. There is definitely that thing right now that Disney have got problems with a big chunk of audience in the US that are just essentially not quite boycotting, but just generally just not trusting of Disney, and have put Disney in a bubble that, that everything they do is just something they don't want to watch. And so there isn't a problem with that. I do think there was a lot of other issues with Haunted Mansion. I do think releasing a film that would have traditionally been much better suited for the fall, like had it come out in September or October, it would have made more sense. But they obviously want to get the digital and the Disney Plus release. And the fact that Disney start Halloween in July anyway. Matt says, I think the Hunt Mafia, I don't know what that is. The Fox films didn't finish. Yeah, they didn't finish Percy Jackson because it didn't do very well. Star says, I have a hunch that the striking party's demands, but be met, but the streamers will have to radically change their pricing strands, even NF. I think the price plans are I don't know how much more they're going to be able to push them. And I do think Disney made a drastic mistake in doing this price rise that they're doing in December. I don't think they should have announced it now. I think they should have held off. I know they're doing it to get profitable for next year, and to get the bundle going, but I really feel like it was such a bad PR move to do. And especially when it would have made more sense when they were merging it and stuff to kind of done stuff, but I don't know. We are going to see some big changes. I'm hoping that the strikes get done soon. I'm really hoping that the writers can get sorted by the end of the month. The fact that they are meeting nearly daily now this past week really does. I think it would just make more sense for them to get that done. And I think the actors strike, I think that will get done before the end of September. I think I'm hoping too much. Barbatronic says, I'm sorry for talking about Warner Brothers Discovery too much. Don't worry, it's not a problem. To be honest, I didn't even notice. So don't worry about it. Happy to talk about other things. That's the great thing with the Q&A, because it allows me sometimes to go off and do some little bit more random talks about other sides of the business and other bits and pieces. So do not worry about it. Iger says the budgets have got to get tighter. That means the Marvel will get more delays, in addition to FX Union probably potentially be informed. Well, if they get longer to do it, and I'm definitely in favor of employees having much more stricter restrictions. Some of the stuff, especially like with the American system, what I consider to be like a lot of hours. I mean, I do a lot. I am a workaholic, and I do way too many hours. But I'm self-employed. That's kind of the way it is. But there's a kind of feeling of like working five days a week, 40 plus hours a week. That, and you have your evenings and your weekend, or you have some time off. If you're crunching and you're doing 12, 13-hour shifts 6 days a week, whatever it is, whenever these shows are coming out, that is not healthy. You're just burning through your employees. And then ultimately you look at like some of the special effects of like She-Hulk. Could that show have done with some more money being spent on it? Or I don't know. In some ways, I feel like She-Hulk was a bad move to have as a TV show anyway, because of the cost. You're basically here's a CGI character for a TV series. It's too expensive. It's just too expensive to do. Matt says maybe it was a mistake for Kevin Feige to dissolve the Marvel Television subsidy, since they had a solid handle on how they could make the shows compared to Marvel Studios. No, I would disagree on that, because I feel like having Marvel Studios in charge of television does now mean that they're much more connected, and we're not getting random stuff happening. Like, the only difference is Marvel Studios, I think their teams were not as suited for. I think the trouble is they were getting a lot of pressure from Disney for Disney Plus stuff to get subscribers and keep them happy. And they were essentially like, we're making movies for Disney Plus, whereas the television division knew how to format a little bit better. I think She-Hulk was better for that, because it was almost like Monster of the Week. I think that actually works better for television series than doing this great big long like limited series, which can be a bit drawn out. Matt says, will we see a Wakanda Forever series? There was supposed to be a Wakanda series being development. We haven't heard anything about that in a while. So if they're not made by Disney, they're not going to be on there, Jacob. I hope Percy World as well, so we can get Ergon. Yeah, should hopefully be good. Muppet says, I think DC made a massive mistake by announcing the universe too soon, as they made the last 4 or 5 films and they're doing badly. DC is a prime example of they have just messed up. They have messed up so badly. Getting James Gunn to go out there, I think, with saying they've got this plan was such a mistake. They shot those films in the foot so much that they could never recover. It's like now, if Marvel turned around and said, we're not doing right, we're rebooting the MCU. Okay. But we still got 3 or 4 more. The numbers, why wouldn't it? It's like anything. When you're watching a TV series and you find out it's been cancelled, do you carry on watching it or do you stop it? Most people stop. If you know a film is, it's like if you went and had, like, I don't know, Mission Impossible Part 1 and they've already said Mission Impossible Part 2 is not coming, you're like, well, I'm not wasting money because it's not going to work. So yeah, I think they royally screwed up. And then this whole half-assed this is in and this isn't and this is and this isn't, and I don't know. It seems like such a massive mistake. Star says Disney Plus may one day offer separate packages by genre brand, just like Good Okay. I don't think they can do. I think the audience would just drastically react badly to that. I think the thing is, what they really want you all on is on the ad tier. They want you to watching stuff. I think trying to get you to pay more, they're going to keep pushing up the ad-free price, and the ad tier one is where they're going to get you. I just don't see how you're going to. It's like if you turn around, right, you're going to pay more for animation and stuff. I just think those days, I don't think the audience would go, and they'll go to another company. Matt says, I'd love to see a DC versus Marvel movie. What are your thoughts? It never will happen. The two companies, they're going to be, DC is not going to want to look weak against Marvel, and ultimately right now, what benefit would Marvel get from it? There isn't really a lot of benefit from them. Matt says, what are they going to do with a live action Snow White? Oh, that's very tricky. Honestly, I mean, personally right now, I actually feel like they should just do the tax write-off actually on this one. I think the Snow White movie just sounds like it's going to be a disaster. It might be really good. But the audience is I mean, you just look at anything online right now. This movie is just not what people want, and I think they've overdone it with this one. So Sina says, I think the Percy Jackson show will have high ratings. Hopefully, yeah. Matt C, I think the biggest issue with Marvel TV shows is most of them feel a lot more like movies that have been cut up into chunks. Yes, that's definitely it. Okay, so we're going to be wrapping this up in a couple of minutes. Muppet Don says they should have written off all the film announced in DCU like 2025. They should have just held off announcing anything until they should have got Flash, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman out, and then they should have made the announcement after Aquaman. That's what they should have done. A DC movie may be possible in I just don't think they'll ever work together and I don't think they could buy it. Right. On that note, since I've just reached the end of the questions, okay. Thank you very much to Ryan. Thank you very much to Muppet Don, Matt C, Sosuna, Star. You got Kai, you got Jacob in here, you got Matt, Caleb, Baba Trolling. If I've missed anyone, Knoxwave, Caleb. Big thank you to everyone for joining in. Thank you so much for your continued support. I'll be back next week with another live Q&A. And on that note, guys, thank you very much. See you guys soon. Laters.